We are picking up, right? We're picking up at the Mishnah, right? On Chafam Abayz? Right, yeah. Okay, we left off at the Mishnah. Okay, so the Mishnah says, Kol Yom Kosher L'Kriyas HaMegillah, the whole day is kosher for reading the Megillah, L'Kriyas HaHalal, and for reading. So Rashi says at the very beginning, first of all, that even though the Mishnah is going to lay out now all different types of mitzvahs that you're able to do during the day, and normally we say, Zrizim Matim Mitzvahs, we learn from Avram Avinu that it says, Vayashkim Avram Baboker, that Avram get up early in the morning because he wanted to do the Akedas Yitzchak. But even though you're supposed to do it, but you really have the whole day to be able to do the mitzvah. So, Adam, we're on 20b, right by the Mishnah. So, Kol Yom Kosher L'Kriyas HaMegillah, the whole day is kosher to read the Megillah, L'Kriyas HaHalal, to say Halal, L'Tkiyas HaShofar, for blowing the shofar, L'Tfilas Sula, for taking the lulav, L'Tfilas Musafin, and for davening Musaf, L'Musafin, or when you're bringing the carbon Musaf, that also you could do all day. U'Levidu HaParim, and if you'd have the Vidu HaParim, which was when either the Kohen Gadol, if he would do an Aveira, that there was a or if Bez or if Sanhedrin had paskin something incorrectly, which there was a chi of kares because they said the wrong thing, so they would bring this. They would bring this paralam davar shel tzibor that that they would have to bring. So that's again, and there was a video that they would say. So that confession, they had the whole day that they'd be able to do it. Ulevidu Meiser, or in the when they would have that, you would bring Meiser, which would be brought on the that Chalamayit, and after the end of the 4th and the 7th years, they would bring Meiser, and there was a vidu that he would say that a person confesses that he did everything he was supposed to be doing. So again, you have the whole day to be saying that Ulevidu Yom Kippurim, or the vidu that was done that the Kohen Gadol would do on Yom Kippur. That's also you have the whole day to do it. L'smicha, now the mission is going to list all sorts of things that were involved with the avodah bar karbanos. L'smicha, when the owners would bring the carbon, they would lean their hands on top of the animal as hard as they could. L'shchita, for shechting it. L'tnuf, for waving. There were certain parts of that you would wave when you bring the carbon mincha. L'gasha, to bring the klisharis that they would be using for the karbanos. They would bring them close to the mizbeach. L'kmitza, for we had talked about Mordechai was teaching his talmidim. Kmitza was where he would take his 3 fingers and they would pick up flour from the middle, and that amount was brought for the carbon mincha. So you could do that all day. L'aktara, or for burning it. L'malika, which was when they would bring a bird sacrifice. So the Kohen, in order to do, you didn't shech the bird. They would take their thumb and they would have a very sharp nail, and they would so shchita is okay. Okay, they would take their thumb and they would do shchita with the neck of the bird using the nail of their thumb. So again, that can be done all day. L'kabbalah, for the kabbalah sadam, they would receive the blood. L'hazaya, for sprinkling it. L'ashkaya sota, or if a man accuses his wife of infidelity, so he gives her a warning, and he says that I don't want you to be miyachid, I don't want you to be secluded with another person. And she goes ahead and she does it anyway. So then what happens is they bring her to the Beis Hamikdash, and they give her this sota water. She's given water to drink, where they put the Shem Hashem in there, and she drinks it. And if she was guilty of what she did, then her stomach blows up, and she has a horrible death. And if not, then she's blessed with well, first of all, she has a very awkward trip home with her husband, but she also she's blessed with like having the brachas, like she has children. So again, this drinking of the sota water, that could be done all day. And if you had that, if a person was killed and he was between 2 cities and they didn't know who the person was, they didn't know what happened. So there's the ziknei here, the elders of the city of each city come and they sit and they break a cow's neck and they say, we didn't have anything to do with this, because and the reason why they're doing this is because they were guilty by not being malava the person, accompanying him outside of the city limits. So they do the seglat roof for that. Could also be done all day. And the Gemara is going to explain how you learn all these things, that you can do them all day. L'taras ha-mitzora, and the mitzora when he finishes his purification process. So again, that takes place all day as well. And then once the Mishnah is talking about things that you can do during the day, so then it says also, conversely, it talks about the things that you can do at night. They're able to do the whole night for it. The whole night is kasher for doing the Ksiras HaOmer, that the second night of Pesach, then they would reap the omer. They would sit there and they would cut the omer. They would gather it after Yom Tov was over, because again they only kept one day. So then that night they would sit there and they would gather together the omer, and then they would bring it on the second day of Pesach, which that would then permit the eating of the new grains. That's if you ever hear the terms yashan and chadash. So that would permit the eating of the new grains would take place on the second day. So you have the whole night to be able to gather together what you needed for the Omer. And for the burning of the fats and the limbs, that it would take place during the day, but you also have the entire night to do it as well. But if you don't do it during the day, you can do it at night as well. So again, we're saying that you can do the entire night. Zaklal, that anything which you're able to do during the day, you're able to do it throughout the whole day. And anything that you are able to do at night, you have the entire night to do it. And the Gemara is going to explain, when it says Zaklal, it sounds like it's coming to include something. What's it coming to include? So the Gemara is now going to, for the rest of the Amud, the Gemara is going to go through and explain how do we know that each of these things that you're supposed to do it during the day. So we start off with the Mikra Megillah. Minalan. How do we know that Mikra Megillah is the entire day? The Amar Krav Hayamim Ha'elan Nizkarim V'Nasim, that these days, again the word Yamim is in there, are remembered and they are done, celebrated for the activities that you're supposed to be doing. Kriyas Halal, how do we know that Halal is all day? The Chsiv Mizrach Shemesh Hamavo, from the rising of the sun till the setting, and again talking about the daytime. Rabbi Yossi Omer, from a different pasuk, it says Zeh Hayom Asa Hashem, that this is the day that Hashem did, which was one of the psukim that we say in Halal. So you see that it's a daytime thing. L'tilas Lulav, the Chsiv L'kach M'Lechem B'Yom Rishon, they should take for yourself on the first day. Again, telling you that you have the whole day, that it should be done during the day. L'tkiya Shofar, the Chsiv Yom Truag Yelachem, that it should be a day of blowing for you. And for bringing the carbon musaf, the chsiv devar yom b'yomo, that it says that when you bring the carbonos, it says you're going to do it each and every day. And for the tefillah for musaf, how do we know? So when it says musaf and shavin rabbanim, because the rabbanim made it the same thing like musaf, and that just like you could bring the carbon musaf for the whole day, so too you could say the tefillah musaf for the whole day. And the only difference they say between the musafin, the carbon musaf that you would bring, and the tefillah for the musaf, is that if you had not yet daven mincha, so that for the carbon tameh, which was brought in the afternoon, that you would do the musaf beforehand, because you had to bring the carbon musaf beforehand, as opposed to tefillah. If it comes to but if it comes to davening, then if you have an opportunity to daven either musaf or mincha, then mincha comes first. So that's just the difference between them. But they're similar enough that you can learn out one from the other. Ulevidi parim, and how do we know that for the vida that they would say for the when they would bring the par, it says the yalif kapara miyam kippurim, that we made a gzer shava from the word kapara by the vidui for Yom Kippur to the kapara, the one it says by the vidui apar for the parlam davar shel tzibor. The Tanya we learned that it says that he shall be forgiven for himself and for his whole house. The kapara, and that's talking about that he would do kapara for the video that he was doing, for the confession he was doing. So the kapara b'yamahu, and the kapara is done during the day, that it says in the pasuk to say that on the day it's going to be forgiven for you. So therefore you learn out again from the other. You make a gzer shava that you do them during the daytime. Levidu and Meiser, how do you know that you're supposed to do when you're saying the Vidu from Meiser? How do you know that that's during the day? That you say before Hashem that I removed all of the things from my house. The Samachlain, it says near there, Hayom Hazeh Hashem Lokecha. Again, the two words, Hashem Lokecha, make a Gzera Shava, you compare one to the other, and it says Hayom, it says you're doing that during the day. So it's Haveka, so that also tells you that it's during the day. Then going through the avodos that you had for the different parts of the karbanos, l'smicha, l'shchita, d'chsiv, v'samach, v'shachad. L'chsiv, v'shchita, v'shchita, it says, b'yom zivchacham, during the day of your shechting. So we compare smicha to zvicha, we compare the leaning on the animal to the shechting of the animal, just like the shechting of the animals during the day, so to the leaning on the animals during the day. L'tnufam, for the waving, how do you know that? D'chsiv, b'yom hanifcham es omer, the day that you would wave the omer. Lagasha, and how do we know that you would for bringing the klisharetz clothes that had the mincha in it? How do you know that was during the day? The tenufa, because we make a hekesh to tenufa, which we just learned that tenufa was done during the day. The chsiv v'lakach hakohem iyad ha'isha es minchas hakanos v'heinif v'hikriv. Again, v'heinif and v'hikriv are the two that are brought together, which is hagasha and tenufa. So we make a gzer shava between the two that is done during the daytime. How do you know? On the day that Hashem commanded the Bnei Yisrael to do the avodah. And how do you know that the sota, again, the woman who was accused of being unfaithful to her husband, how do you know that that's during the day? Asya Torah, we make the Gzer Shava from Torah. Ksiv hacha v'asala kohen es kol Torah azos. It says here by the Sota that the kohen is going to make this Torah, and then it says Ksiv hasam al pi Torah sheyirucha v'al mishpat. And it says in another pasuk it says that on the Torah which is going to be done with mishpat, and turning to chafal from aleph. Ma mishpat b'yom afkam b'yom. That just like mishpat is done during the day, which we have learned out already, so too the sota drinking the water is also going to be done during the day. And just because it's a short, we'll go to the end of the parak. Well, Arifa Sa'egla. I said we're going to be starting a new parak tonight, didn't I? Oh, so I lied. I lied on the chat. Okay, fine. Arifa Sa'egla. How do you know that for? I could. That's right. Okay. Larifa Egla, and how do you know for Egla Rufa that was done during the day? Amar Devei Rav Yanai Kapara Ksiva Kikachim, that it's an atonement. It says Kapara, just like by Kachim we say that it's done during the day. The Kapara is during the day. So to the Egla Rufa is done during the day. Lutaras Mitzora. How do you know for the Mitzora that he finishes what he's supposed to be doing for the things that he's supposed to be bringing to do his tahara during the day? The chsiv zosti at taras hamitzora biyom tahara, so that it should be on the day of his tahara, which indicates daytime. So now the Mishnah said at the end, it gave a rule. It said anything that you're able to do during the day, you have the whole day to do it. Anything that you could do at night, you have the whole night to do it. So the Gemara says, Kol alay lakash l'ksira sa'omer. Damar mar ksira usfira b'layla v'ava b'yom. Because it says that the ksira and the counting is done at night, and the bringing it is during the daytime. We'll have the chalav and veivarim that you could burn the fats and the limbs, that you could do that for the karbanos that needed it. The chsiv kol halay la'adaboker. It says in the pasuk you should do it all night until the morning. So ze'akla. So this is again. We said that there was a rule. So davish mitzvah b'yom kasha kol yom. That any mitzvah that you have that can be done during the day, you have the entire day to do it. So the Gemara asks ze'akla l'suyemai. When it says this is the klal, so what's it coming to include? Because it already said everything. So what else is there that it not included that it should have been including? Where it says lasuye sira bazichan v'siluk bazichan. They would take that they had every day they would have once a week, they would put on the lechem upon him onto the mizbeach, and when they were the loaves of bread, and when they would put the loaves of bread onto the mizbeach, and then they would remove them, that was part of the avoda, and then they would remove them. That was a nace that took place, that even though it had been on there all week, it was still fresh when they took it off, just as it was when they put it on. And in addition to the lechem apanim that they put on, they would also put on these spoons of frankincense. What's it called? Lavonas. Frankincense? Yeah. I don't know what that is, but it's a spice. Okay, well, so it's a spice?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a spice. Okay. So they would have the spice that they would be doing. So it's coming to include to tell you that when you're taking off these spoons of lavona, that you have the whole day to do it. Rabbi Yossi, and like Rabbi Yossi says, Zertanya, Rabbi Yossi Emer Silkas Hayishana Shachris, that if someone took off the lechem upon him, the old bread that was on there, the old meaning it had been put on a week before. If you removed that in the morning, v'sidras hachadash arvis, and then you didn't put on the new lechem upon him, you didn't put the new bread on until the evening. It's not a problem. There's no problem with it. So how do I fulfill them when it says that it's supposed to be before Hashem constantly? Because you're going to have these daytime hours that it's not on there. When I say that it means that the shulchan shouldn't have it shouldn't be without a lechem overnight. But you could have time during the day that it's going to be empty. So again, that's telling you that you have the entire day. That's what it's including in the Mishnah. When it didn't list it, but it could have listed and included that these lavona and the lechem upon him, that you take it off in the morning, you have the entire day to put it back on. It doesn't have to be put back on immediately. And then conversely, what's that referring to? What is that including to in the nighttime? To include the eating of the carbon pesach. The Zed says you're supposed to eat the carbon pesach on this night. It says here by the carbon pesach during this night. And it says by Makas Bechoros, it says that I'll go through Mitzrayim this night and I'm going to kill all the Bechorim. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that just like B'makas Bechoros, that when did that take place? It took place by Chatzos. So he says so too. The carbon pesach can only be eaten until Chatzos. So the Mishnah is telling you that when it says that you have the whole night to do it, that this Tana holds that you can do the carbon pesach the entire night. And Hakorei. That's the first word of the next Mishnah. We will continue tomorrow night.